Shabbat Shalom, family. How are you guys doing today? Today we got a topic that's very important to the body of Yahusha. And the question is, should believers celebrate Halloween?
Amen.
And see, we got to realize in this season that, and I'm a witness to it, because when I grew up, I used to think it was fun to celebrate Halloween and put on masks and take my kids and say trick or treat. But now, since I know better, I'm doing better, and I'm trying to get it out there that it's not to be celebrated because it is evil. And when we talk about trick, let's talk about that word trick. It is a cunning action. It is deceitful. So, and if we're doing something deceitful, it's an attempt to get you to do something foolish. That is what's up under the definition of trick. Doing something foolish. And in the word it said foolish is bound in the heart of a child. So when we go even as adults, because all of us are considered Yahusha children, even as adults, we're going out and we're doing foolish action before him. And it's dishonest because it's an act of lying, because now we're putting on masks and we're portraying these masks and images that we're putting on.
Right.
It also says it's a joke. It's a prank played on a person. So when we think about that prank being played on a person, we got to realize that this thing is serious. So anybody out there who got any questions or comments on this topic, should a believer celebrate Halloween?
Right. Okay, she just straight dry and cut, just went straight in.
Because this is a serious topic.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome y'all to House of Restoration, where we'll be in the light in the midst of darkness. With my wife, Tamika Smith. I'm Wesley Smith. And we will be starting something new here on the Threshing Floor. Yes. So now I will be with y'all on the Threshing Floor as well. She incorporated me in. Not by any means do I choose to be here. Told to be here. So
the Threshing Floor started out being a discussion channel.
So it's gonna be more of discussion and dialogue, not teaching and different things. Which we will be giving a little information, different things, which it might run over more than an hour. It might be an hour, might be 2 hours. We don't know. But while we're doing this, we all want to go along this journey together to get a better understanding on current events and things that happen. So should believers celebrate Halloween? Now, and this isn't an opinion, I personally believe that we as believers aren't supposed to celebrate Halloween.
That's right.
And or any other feast beast holidays. And any of y'all that follow me, I call them the feast beast. So those are those holidays that are incorporated throughout the world. I mean that was incorporated through tradition and paganism and Roman politics and different things like that. And so let's give a little description of what Halloween represents. Okay, so if you go back to the Celtics and different ones, Halloween comes from Samhain. That was what they called it. And so what it represents the Day of the Dead. And so during the Day of the Dead, they would dress up like the dead so that the dead wouldn't attack them. And the children would dress up and go and knock on doors so they can get a treat. So where you get the jack-o'-lantern from, the jack-o'-lantern comes from because they used to use radishes and make it look like skeletons. And they would put them out around the different places in their neighborhood or in their village. And so when the kids would knock on the door, either they was expecting a treat, and if they didn't get a treat, then they did a trick. Yeah. And as y'all heard, she just talked about what a trick is. It's a cunning action. It's something deceitful.
That's right.
And so when people go and they start dressing in different attire, now we know back then they was a little bit more gruesome and different things going on, because when you would hear about bonfires, they weren't bonfires, they were bone fires. And so they would be burning people alive.
That's right.
And so even now, as we move into this culture of an American westernized culture, we see that every year, what do they do, right? Every year, whenever a holiday comes, right? Yeah. Before that holiday is even
right.
it ain't 2 weeks that they set it up. It ain't even 3 weeks that it's almost a month and a half because they already got Christmas stuff out, right? So they start programming and planning. That's right. So that we fall accustomed to these things. Right. And so what happens is it passes on from one generation to the next generation. Yeah. And so now we're teaching our children to be, in other words, what in the Greek would be called hypocrite, meaning an actor or a stage player, a pretender, right? And so if you look up that word hypocrite, well, guess what it ends up in being in English? Hypocrite. Hypocrite. And so we see so many people that are believers following his brother, shalom. So we see so many people that are supposed to be believers fall into to the wayside because they're joining in on this, right? And so they just look at it as it's just a little bit of fun. And even I have family members that talk about joining. And listen, I try to give the warning, and after the warning, then I can't do anything else. It's up to them to seek for the truth. But when you look up the word hypocrite in Hebrew, it's hanef, right? Yeah. And I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of different things here on the screen. I got a little look at here, y'all. Seeing that I can't throw my stuff on the screen, I will give you this. But the word hanef comes from 3 letters in the Hebrew, and the first letter is het, which means tent, wall, or separation. Thank you. Yes, please. Tent, wall, or separation, right? So what is that doing when we join to this thing? It's separating us from Yah. Because listen, one thing I want people to understand is we will fall accustomed to the things that are traditional here in America, but we won't follow what Scripture tells us. And Yah told us that we are to keep 7 feasts, and yet we do all these other celebrations. Now I want y'all to realize that Samhain was a feast celebration as well for the Day of the Dead. Now, look at the next word, none. That's like official. This is like a border being separated, right? So this is like official. So you got a seed, fish, or life. What is it doing? Separating life from Yahuwah, okay? Right. So then you got the last letter, pay, right? So that represents, is like a staff or a cane, representing a mouth, word, or speak. So now you speaking lies of hypocrisy. Right? Because you're a vampire, you're a witch, you're this, you're that. Not only that, look, your words can give false seed to somebody else, and they be led to think that they have a proper tent to dwell in.
That's right.
And that isn't what Yah wants for us. And so, therefore, we, as my brother said, we must not be deceived.
That's right.
And so we have to keep our eyes open to this. And brothers and sisters, this is something that we're trying to do. So if there's anything that you would like to be presented as we're on here, if you have questions, put the questions in all caps, so that way we can address them as we come across them. And if there's anything, anything that you would like to discuss, kind of put it in all caps so we could differentiate it from what the other things is being said. But look at that, how we can be separated, right?
Yeah. And when you was talking about separation, right, we're gonna go to Songs of Solomon, because chapter 2, verses 15, because this is a powerful scripture in itself, because it teaches us about how the little things we think don't matter really do matter.
Right.
Because we're compromising to the little things. We need to watch those little things in our lives.
It's the little foxes, right?
That's it, the little foxes. We're going to go to Songs of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 15. And it said, hold for us the foxes, the little foxes that harm the vineyards and our vineyards of vine blossom. It wasn't the big foxes, it was the little foxes. So we got to watch out for the little things, right, because the things that we allow that might seem little can be disastrous. That means, like he said, separating ourselves from Yahuwah. That can be disastrous for us if we're on his narrow path, and then we're being taught to celebrate these pagan holidays. So now that falls in, we're not on the narrow path anymore. We're not on the broad path. And then those little compromises can open doors to evil ruach.
Right.
When you think you're doing right, because compromise means an agreement. Now you have made an agreement. It's okay for me to do this. It's okay for me to do that. It's okay for me to give and take a little, meet this halfway. Because now in the church world, they call it trick or trunk. Right. So now they trying to implement it. So they mean they think it's okay, but they saying it's halfway. We ain't doing it like they doing. We ain't going on the outside. We ain't going from door to door. But the thing is, you're still celebrating that holiday.
Or they call it a harvest festival. What is a festival? A feast.
Exactly. So now you're exposing yourself to danger because you're out on these little adventures going from house to house. Now you're deceiving someone while you're being deceived.
Right.
So now we got to think about these little evil ruachs that we're opening doors to, and then we wonder why our houses, our children are in such a uproar, because we're training them up in that way, not in Yahushua way, but we're training them up in these traditional ways.
Right.
These pagan ways. And a vineyard, let's talk about vineyard. It's an area that is planted. Now the foxes don't came along and they don't ate up the area. Was somebody with light, one of Yahushua's children has came along and they have planted the word, but now those little foxes don't came along, and guess what? They don't ate the word. Now they don't turn back as a dog turn back to his vomit.
Right.
So now we got to think about these things because this is serious. And I'm so glad that I know now how evil this can be, because that is Satan in disguise.
Exactly. And that's something that she was saying, like when we were in the circuit or the church or the institution, we would compromise by allowing. We would say, "Oh, we'll just do it at church," but I mean, at the same time, we still allowing our children to dress up and look like, you know. What do you see on pretty much so many TV shows, so many movies nowadays? You see stuff about werewolves, witches,
imps,
monsters, vampires, all that different type of stuff. And even me and my wife, we now, you know, looking at that type of stuff, because eventually it start. And like I said, we ain't perfect. We ain't, you know, just completely gave up TV. But we wean ourselves away from watching stuff with dark and stuff that will because it allows that type of stuff into your ruach.
That's right.
And so therefore, you know, even with this, you know, when people ask, well, what's the harm in letting your child celebrate Halloween? I say, what's the harm? Listen though, I say, well, what's the harm with allowing your child to drink poison, right? I mean, it's because I know poison ain't good, so I'm gonna keep it away from it.
That's right.
And it's the same way when it comes to Halloween or Christmas or Thanksgiving or any of those days, you know, that was created by man to honestly worship others, entities other than Yahuwah. And so therefore we have to follow what scripture say. What was Romans chapter 12 verse 9 said? Romans chapter 12 verse 9, if I can get to it, it says this. It says, let love be without dissimulation. So if I love you, I'm gonna bring you the truth. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna pretend, and I'm not gonna sit up there and say, well, I guess it's all right just to let them do it as long as tomorrow they go to church. You know, no, I'm not gonna say that. So I have to love without dissimulation, meaning that I ain't showing favoritism to one person over another. I'm telling everybody the same thing. Right. Why don't you celebrate Halloween? Because I know it ain't right. Because I know that it ain't meant for me to celebrate. A pumpkin head isn't not, that's a teraphim you're putting in front of your house. That's a teraphim. And so I'm not just gonna walk up to people now that does it and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, no. That's not my place to do. But when people wants to know, when they ask what you do for Halloween, I say, oh, I don't celebrate. Why? And I break it down to them now. It's up to them for them to seek that truth. But look what else it says here. In Romans chapter 12, verse 9, he said, let love be without dissimulation, abhor, meaning detest that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. You see that? Right. He said, detest that which is evil. That's right. Or hate it. That's right. And so we're supposed to hate evil. Let's look at something real quick. The word evil. The word evil is ra. Yeah, you're gonna be my Vanna White again. The word evil is ra. So this letter in the ancient Hebrew represents the eye, or to see or have experience, right? And this letter right here, resh. So this is ayin, this is resh. It means man's head first or leader. So check it out. This means the eye, right? And this means the leader, or to be first, or the man's head. So what comes first on your body? Your head and your eye. And let's look what Yahusha said about that in Luke chapter 11. Luke chapter 11 real quick. Where Luke chapter 11, I had to sit up. I thought. Okay, so in Luke chapter 11, verse 34, I want to show y'all something. Yahusha just wasn't just speaking things just to be speaking it. He was bringing things to the light because they spoke Hebrew when Yahusha was around. It wasn't Aramaic, it wasn't Greek, it wasn't any of this other stuff that you get in all these other translations. It was Hebrew. So look what he said in verse 11, chapter verse 34, Luke. He said, the light of the body is the eye. Now remember, the light of the body is the eye. Now, when your eye is single, he said, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when your eye is single, your whole body is full of light, meaning that you're walking upright, right? But look what he said. But when your eye is evil, your body also is full of darkness. So when you choose first to do whatever is whatever others see you do, right? Is evil and carrying yourself in a wicked manner, your eye. That allows you can see it in a person. You can tell if a person has light in their eyes. You can see it, and even when a person passes away, you can see when the light removes from their eye. From the life removes from their eye, not the light, the life. And so, therefore, we have to understand. We as followers of the Messiah have no business tangling or mingling out there. Dressed up and acting like something else. That's why he told them, y'all are like whited sepulchers. Ooh. You look good on the outside, but your inside is far from it. Full of dead man's bone. And so what do we choose to do? We choose to parade ourselves around like we Dracula or RoboCop or the Ninja Turtles or whoever it may be, just for giggles. That's right. And let our children think that it's just a time to have fun. That's right. When it all it's doing is preparing our generation to come to continue to be lost, essentially, to the point where they don't know about the feast of Yah. That's what the holidays want to remove, the holy days. That's right. That's it right there. And we're going to talk about how when our kids are running, you know how kids running around, they run into the doors and they playing these little tricks and they playing these little games. Well, in Proverbs chapter 6, verses 18, it tells us, it says, a heart that devises wicked imagination, feet that be swift and run into mischief. This is one of the 6 abominations that he detests. Right. These are one of the 6 things that one of the 7 abominations, that he detests. Right. It says a heart that devises wicked imagination, feet that be swift and run into mischief. Right. When we think about that, guess what our children are doing? They don't realize it in their heart because they're not being trained up, but they're running to mischief.
A device is something prepared in your mind that already been playing. So these are things that been brought to you from when you was a kid on up, a tradition, a culture, a ritual being taught to you in your home, telling you, oh, it's okay. So now your mind is like, okay, I'm prepared for this. I'm ready for Halloween, because when I was young, my kids were young. Guess what? They were ready. It's candy time. It's time to celebrate.
Yeah.
So now they mind prepared to go and get a lot of candy. They weren't thinking about how someone was scared of the monsters, because when you think about a child, my grandma used to tell me when a kid used to laugh all the time, oh, they seeing the angels. But when they're afraid, guess what they're seeing? Monsters. Mm. So when they were going out trick-or-treating, the kids were scared because they knew what a monster was. They knew what the darkness was because they're kids. Imagination or imaginary creatures. They're ready to run. They're ready. A heart that devises wicked imagination. They're imaginary creatures. Legends, myths, fantasies. These are traditions in Hebrew. That's why Yahusha talked about the tradition of men. Right. These are the tradition that he was talking about. These folklores. These things that they're doing. And then when it says a feet that be swift and run into mischief, you think about when your kids are running, they run to do prank. They run to do trouble, because if somebody didn't get them a treat, guess what they did? They played a trick on them by throwing eggs. They put tissue everywhere, all over their houses, because they were mad because the person didn't give them any candy. So now all these pranks are turned into mischief. They run and do mischief, egging houses. They putting tissue up. I don't know what that called, but they are running to mischief. And we got to think about these things. Now they causing trouble.
Right. And you know,
I'm sorry.
I don't mean to cut you off, but something that the Spirit was just dealing with me on is like, it's also a front for the witches, the warlocks, and all those that are out there.
That's right.
Conjuring and incantating. If you don't believe in witches and warlocks, well, you need to read your scriptures.
That's right.
Because it says it right there. Have no dealings with wizards, witches, warlocks, necromancers, diviners, any of that. And so, do you realize? And you hear about it more. It happens all year round, but you hear about it a lot during the time when we get ready to start going into the fall. Think about it now. How much you hear about children that are all of a sudden been murdered.
That's right.
Or is missing.
That's
and
right.
So just like about a week ago or two, there was a harvest moon. Mm-hmm. Now this was a high holy night or high dark night they called it a holy night, but it's a high dark night for the witches and the warlocks, because what they are doing is they're chanting and incanting and doing all that stuff. And that why listen, they pray too, and they're faithful to what they're doing when they pray. They wake up in the morning just to combat against what we're doing early in the morning, just to go through because they have to do rituals. And so therefore, you know, with us, you know, we trust y'all. We get up, we talk to our y'all, and we have a relationship with them. With them, their service is more of they have to cut themselves, they have to do all that different type of stuff. Where versus we humbled ourselves and we put on his yoke so that his burden could be, you know, he would take on our burden for us. Right. And so therefore, we have a different way of communicating with our king versus the way that they communicate with their lowercase Elohim. That's right. So therefore that's why we have to always be on watch and ready. I mean, sometimes y'all wake you up.
Yes,
right?
He will. Yes,
and the reason he wake you up is because you have to combat against some of that mess they have going on.
That is so true, because about 2 to 3 years ago, he woke me up around about 2 or 3 o'clock, and I can hear them chanting. They were just chanting away, and he told me to stay firmly in prayer. Just pray, just pray, just pray. And he was going to be with me while I'm praying. And you know, a lot of times in this season, we have to pray one for another. We have to encourage each other, because I have a prayer line, and when I was praying on the prayer line 2 days ago, all I could see were these witches and warlocks and necromancers. They was coming, and I'm praying, but in the midst of me praying, I started feeling weak. But I know in the midst of my weakness, my ruach, Yahuwah's ruach was made perfect. And if I'm in him and he in me, he was going to strengthen me. So in the midst of this season, we got to pray one for another.
Right.
And let's talk about the tradition being performed and passed by one generation to the next. Like he was saying, we dressing our children up as witches, goblins, ghosts, imps, even fortune tellers. All these are representation of Satan. Now we're misleading them. How are we misleading them? Because they're being guided wrongly down the wrong path.
Right.
And if they're being guided down the wrong path, guess what? They're being led astray to be guided into a mistaken action. They don't know they're erring because they're kids. They don't know.
And that's why scripture tells us that we should train a child up.
That's right.
In the Torah. And when he grow old, he won't depart from it.
That's right.
And so now so many people are training their children up in all this other type of stuff. And you don't have those
Emmanuel, turn it down.
You don't have those people that are stepping up. Emmanuel, turn it down. You don't have those people that are willing to step up and go house to house like when I was younger. I Mr. and Mrs. Letson, my mom and dad weren't going to church. We were going because right. Mr. and Mrs. Letson was coming to pick us up. I have a picture. I keep a picture of them around just because I will say, nobody. We all have to work out our own soul salvation with fear and trembling.
That's right.
But you, in order for you to work out your soul salvation with fear and trembling, you have to have something that you was able to that was given to you, so that you could be able to receive that salvation. And even though we was in the circuit or the institution, it still built the foundation.
That's right.
For me and my brothers, so that we begin to know and understand our Creator. Now, was we being taught everything properly? No, but that's why we all have to work out our own soul salvation. And that's why it takes you to study to show thyself approved. That's why even the stuff that we're sitting here talking to you about, go and research it yourself. I mean, that's how I found out about Samhain. That's how I found out about the jack-o'-lanterns and the bonfires and all that different type of stuff, because I always be wondering, where does this stuff come from? Why are we warned so much in scripture to stay away from darkness, to stay away from evil things? And not have no matter of fact, look what Ephesians chapter I'm stuff at Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11. Look what it says. It says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove it, expose it. And so that's what we're doing here. We're exposing it to let you know. On that question, should believers celebrate Halloween? The answer is no. Flat out no. That's because why? What is darkness? Let's bring it to that. You gonna be my Vanna White one more time? All right. So in Hebrew is Hoseh, right? That is the het. Again, meaning separation. And in this term, it's tent, wall, or separation. But we see darkness separates us from what? Yeah. When we walk in darkness, we're separated from him, because he said he will cast you in the outer darkness. That means that you're separated, right?
That's right.
But now let's look at what the shin mean. Meaning it's supposed to be teeth, right? What do we do with the teeth? We eat and consume, and it destroys things, right? And so when we're in darkness, it's easy for us to be destroyed, to be consumed, or even what? Swallowed by the enemy, because he seeks to devour us, right? And then look at here. You got the dalet, which means tent door or pathway. But now let's look at all this. It separates you, destroys you, and gets you off the pathway. So with darkness, we ain't supposed to have no works with it.
That's right.
It's unfruitful. And so therefore, in the light, that's the only way that what? Seeds can grow.
That's right.
Now you have some plants that can grow in the darkness, but they're unfruitful.
That's right. That is so true. We're gonna go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 1. We're gonna see what Yahusha had told Moshe and Aaron about this. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yisrael, and say unto them, I am Yahuwah Elohim. After the doing of the land in Mitzrayim, Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall you not do? And after the doings of the land of Canaan, where I bring you, shall you not do? Neither shall you walk in their audience. You shall do my judgment and God's my audience to walk therein. I am Yahuwah Elohim. You shall therefore guard my statutes and walk my judgment, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am Yahuwah. When we walk in their ways, he said, even when I brought you to the land of Canaan, even where he has brought us to the land of America, we still supposed to walk in his ways. But now we have got off course because he said, you shall not. You shall not walk. You shall not walk in their audience. That means the direction of a course. That means a guideline, customary behavior, advice. Because you know what? A little leaven the whole lump.
Right.
So we got to think about these things, and we're walking in their ways. And he warned us, even when I brought you out of Mitzrayim, don't continue to do the ways that they taught you to do. When I'm bringing you into this land of Canaan, even they doing these things, they keeping these rituals, these traditions. Don't you do them? So when he brought us and sent us over here to America, we don't do their ways. We have to keep Yahuwah's way. And a lot of us have got our path, but now he's opening his children's eyes.
Right. All right. So we got something here that I want to address. It says from Evangelist, she said 1 year when it snowed on Halloween, they changed it to the next week.
Wow.
Now think about that. Now this day is supposed to be on Halloween, right? October 31st.
So it goes into, if you read up on the Halloween, All Saints Day that started.
All Saints Day is November the 1st.
All the way over.
So I was about to break that down.
I'm sorry.
So no, that's fine because now they celebrate All Saints Day, which is also a Roman pagan holiday that celebrates, guess what? The Day of the Dead. And so therefore, the reason they wanted to push that to the following week is because they just want to brain control. And it ain't just about brain control, it's about consumer. Right. So they're gonna get whatever they can out of you. You already spent your money on all this stuff, and not only that, the week following, how much candy can we sell on that for that? Because Halloween, the day is past. So now they got the candy out for cheap. You see what I'm saying? So and then Halloween, let's go buy some costumes for next year. So it's essentially about $1, and then it's about keeping our children's mind focused on thinking that this is okay. So since we'll cancel it since it snowed, but y'all still gonna celebrate Halloween. Why is that? Think about when you do celebration or something, right? When you celebrate something, let's look at it like this. When we get together and we celebrate, when we worship, we're doing what? We're giving praise unto our God. So what do you think is happening when everybody gets together on a large scale and is celebrating something that is not good, something that is evil, right? So look at 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Look what it said. Abstain, he said, abstain, meaning have no part with, from all appearance of evil. He said the appearance of it.
That's right.
Abstain from all appearance of evil. So therefore, we shouldn't even be trying to be a part of that. Right? So look at that.
That's right. And him saying we should not be a part of, guys, we got to realize, we're not coming up against, let's get this correct. We're not coming up against no one who's doing it. We're not the judge, Yahushua is, but we're just putting it out there and asking a question and discussing, should a believer celebrate Halloween? And our answer is no.
No.
But when you know that these things bring up evil into your home because you have opened that door, You were putting things on the outside of your door like skeletons. We're putting things on the outside of our windows like ghouls and imps. So guess what? That is attracting these evil ruachs. So when you attract them, guess what? And you're speaking these words, guess what they're doing? You're opening that door. That's like Harry Potter. Oh, everybody, they went to these movies. They were flooding out Harry Potter for years, but now they come to find out in the school system that Harry Potter was really teaching their children true magic, sorcery, magic.
Let's
so we on this subject. Let's talk about it.
So did you know that in order for them to film the Harry Potter movies, they hired witches and warlocks to come on the scene to teach them incantations? So those incantations and different things, he was yelling on that TV screen.
Was real.
That was real stuff.
That was real.
You know? And so let's figure this out, okay? Why, when they make a movie about scripture, they can't get somebody that's holy and somebody that's filled with the spirit or the Ruach HaKodesh to come in there and say, nah, that ain't scriptural.
Right?
That ain't scriptural.
They go on and
but they make it how they want to. Everybody seen that movie, Kings and God?
Oh yeah.
And it was supposed to be like Moshe and the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, and they made God. Listen to this. They made Yah a little whiny kid. He was a kid having temper tantrum. He would get mad at Moshe, and I think Christian Bale played that character. But it was just, and even the Noah movie, like they just totally went off script with it, and just and so what I'm saying is we'll hire the evil to come in, and so we can get that right.
Yeah, we can get that right.
So Hollywood can get that right.
They can get that right.
But now let me tell you something. Before we gave our life and we were watching those movies, we thought they were showing up on the money. We were like, ooh, woo.
Yeah.
Yahusha just gave it to them. And then when you start listening and after you go,
wait, hold on.
That ain't in the
scripture. This ain't right.
Even the first 10 Commandments movie, what's the guy name? Name? Everybody always be talking about him. Charles S. Heston. Now, I don't know if I said that right, because Charleston Heston, right? Now, scripture said that when he stuck his hand in the road and y'all told him to pull it back out, it was white as snow. They didn't show that on the movie, did they? No, they left that out.
Yeah.
They left that out. Just making a point and observing some things here, right?